Detroit Pistons season is upon us pretty soon. I think they playing their last preseason game versus Cleveland. And very interesting, right? This guy on break, he always gotta be riding. So now I can really spot a fiend. Once a person with, let me say this first, a person with a habit, I can spot them. Because one thing about people that got alcohol habits, they can't sit still. That's one thing I noticed. A lot of dudes that's fidgety, and most guys that's hardworking guys, they sit there and they just be chilling. They don't want to do too much. But a fiend or an addict always got to be moving. That's how I really know the smart, person that play with their nose. They always touch their nose because when you snort that devil snow, devil snow, you can't feel your nose. That's why the ice roll in my head, I toss and turn in my, people who know the Cameo Candy song. It was about him doing the devil snow. But yeah, people just always got to do something. This dude on break, like last year, he did a dirt bike and it had an accident, dog. Oh, break, 10-minute break. But they always got to be doing something. But I had to ask this question about Tobias Harris. For a lot of people, it's a foregone conclusion that Tobias Harris is going to get moved, right? I think he's very important to the camaraderie. I think he's one of the top reasons why they defend better, because the Pistons defensively had a problem guarding the four. Beef Stew out there on motherfucking Detroit roller wheel skates, guarding, basically small forwards. That's all fours are today. They extension of four small forwards. Power forward. They not your grandpa's or your father's power forwards. When you start talking about, Tim Duncan, when you start talking about like Grandmama, when you start talking about those type of power forwards, Chris Webber, they're no longer those type of guys, right? So, But yeah, when you go out there and guard them, Beef's too heavy in the legs to do that, right? So Tobias Harris, I just think he's very important in what they're doing. His ability to play three, to play four, his ability to post up. And I think a lot of people take him for granted because, he may not give you 20 and 10, but he consistent, he defend. He knocked down enough open shots. He's somebody that you got to respect. A guy that want to be in Detroit, a good locker room dude, seemed to be a really good dude from afar. If you want to, he can post it up, get a bucket. Anytime he can have a breakout game for 30 points or something like that. But he's steady. Would you like to see him rebound the ball at a higher clip? Absolutely. Would I like to see him knock down the three? You've been shooting your whole career at a higher clip. But he brought a lot of stability to that fourth spot where they struggled. And even if you remove him from that fourth spot, they don't have a lot of depth at that fourth spot. Ron Hollins put some weight on to play that position, and it's very important in that position that I think Ron can guard the fours of the day, but is he a threat to pop that three? And if Ron is a threat to pop that three, you know what I'm saying, and he's strong, and that weight he put on, you're stronger. I mean, you got some depth there. The Bobby Killerman, who knows? Second round picks are a crapshoot, So he brought so much stability, so much camaraderie to the team that, at the end of the day, yeah, when you go out there and say, I can add a Laurie marketing, and that's nice. That's really, really nice. Will he defend at the level Tobias defends at? We know he's going to shoot the blood out the ball. We know he can give you a little bit more rebounding, a little bit more off the dribble. I didn't know that about his game, so I looked it up. So it's trade-offs and everything. But I mean, is it really a foregone conclusion? He get a little bit more versatility. He could play 3, 4, 5 in Laurie marketing, but I think Tobias is really a glue guy for this team, especially for what JB Bickerstaff want to do. So I think you tread lightly trying to get rid of him. I think he's important. Obviously, they had to move on from Tim Hardaway, could move on from Malik Beasley if they finish this investigation. So really, it was for the young Bulls to soak up the knowledge that they got and carry it on. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting, so compared to what you got to pay him going forward, it's going to be a lot cheaper, and he a good fit. But if anything, when I look at the Pistons, that they number one need is they need a primary scorer. They need a full-time primary scorer. Somebody that you can mark for 25, 30 points a game. You know what I'm saying? That's what they really missing. Where Cade can just fall back and really be Cade. K got to be facilitator. He got to be the scorer. He got to be the defender. He got to be, he got to be too. They need somebody flat out that if you don't send a double team or you don't spotlight him, he gonna get you 25, 30 every night. I think that's the best definition to put it. Whether it's at the wing, whether it's at the four. Well, basically everything is the wing, not named the five. Even the five is playing like wings today, but that ain't nor here nor there. But that's all they missing is a flat out bona fide like starter scorer. I think Caris LeVert, if he could be a little bit more durable, he can be that for you off the bench. I think Sasser has that ability to really flat out get you 20, 30 off the bench. But somebody in that starting lineup has a professional bucket getter, and you hoped he could play some defense. So when you start looking around the league for those type of guys, I think that's why people thought Brandon Ingram might be appealing. You know what I'm saying? That's why people may think Austin Reeves might be appealing, in the right situation, even though he dissed Detroit already, said he didn't want to go there. Shout out to him. So somebody you can mark for 25 to 30 damn near every night. Cleveland got that in Donovan Mitchell, but it don't really mesh well because they do Darius Garland. So that's one thing you kind of look at. You look around the league and like, even when you look at the Rockets, they lost Fred VanVleet, people still looking at Kevin Durant like he Kevin Durant. Now, I ain't Kevin Durant no more. Even when you look at Shea Gillensley, Jalen Williams can go out there and get them 20, 25. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of need that, Jalen Brunson and Cat. He kind of need that next type of score. So if that's marketing, if they can find that elsewhere, so be it. But I'm not pretty sure the answer to the question is to get rid of Tobias. But if it is, you better, I've been saying, you better find the power forward, because if you better make sure you got the power forward that you believe in, you can go forward with. Because that position, when they couldn't fill that position to find, they was trying to get to play Wiseman with Beef Stew, and they was trying to play Bagley with Wiseman and it didn't work. That was kind of really outside of Troy Weaver not being able to pick his own coach. His biggest downfall was not going out there and getting a true modern power forward. And one of the first things that the things they went out there and did, Trajan Langdon did, was find a power forward. So, but hey, it is what it is. Appreciate y'all. Check out Detroit Pistons Talk playlist. Find me on X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, the whole nine. Appreciate the love and support. Check out Detroit Pistons Talk playlist for more videos like this. But let me know what you girls and guys think in the comment section. Peace.